This lens has the potential to replace all of your prime lenses. And yeah, your 35 1.4 as well. So what is it that actually makes people not want to get these lenses? Where photographers that actually know what they're doing look at them as garbage. So there's three main reasons. First off is the fact that it's a zoom. And people say a zoom makes you lazy. For example, when I had my latest wedding shoot, if I didn't have my zoom and I only had 1 or 2 primes with me, I would be forced to move around, come close, get further away, get specific angles. For film, however, you're thinking of so many factors. You need to think of ISO, pushing film, and specifically, but not exclusively, in street photography. So if you're, for example, shooting a moment where someone is sleeping inside of a restaurant and you want to really quickly zoom in so that the person in the background and the person in the foreground looks like they're looking at each other, when in reality they're like 10 meters apart. You can't do that without zooming in, because usually street photography uses something like a 28mm, 35mm. That would make you want to come super close, and by that point they look like they're oceans apart, the foreground and background character. While with this lens, I was shooting someone from really up close in 1 second, and then 10 minutes later I'm shooting someone from really far away and bringing people closer together, right? So that is one huge superpower of a zoom lens when shooting film. Now let's address the horse in the room. These lenses are very often called slow lenses because they don't get in as much light and they're not really suitable for a lot of background blur or action. The question is actually in 2 parts. Slow for what? And how can we mitigate this? It's slow for portraits, definitely. It's slow for example, running shots, and we're talking mostly in dimly lit situations. In sunlight, you can do pretty much anything at f8, but what it's not slow for is street photography. Why? Because street photography is all about building context and telling a story. For example, if I were to throw this background out into f1.4, you wouldn't be able to tell if these are horses or if these are like 6 psychos dressed up as horses. Context is key, and f8 definitely gives you that context. I don't know if you've heard about the expression f8 and be there, but this is pretty relevant for our case, since we want to always be in the moment and tell a story. But the issue arises when you're shooting film. This quote of lenses being slow, hence useless, usually depends on the fact that back in the day, for example, when I had my Contax 2, that era of cameras didn't have any film rated higher than ISO 100 available to them. So they need to get in as much light as possible. Now, when I shot ISO 25 expired film, I truly felt the pain. But the solution is very simple. Flash. When you light up the entirety of the scene, you can pick and choose what you want to include in the scene because everything's lit. But you might say, I don't want to flash people, it's scary. A lot of street photographers say they don't want to flash people so that they don't get an unnatural reaction. In my humble opinion, a natural reaction is the person's reaction to knowing that they're being photographed and being flashed. But that's, in my opinion, what street photography is all about. Getting out the side of the person that you don't usually see. And in my opinion, you can really do that pretty well with flash. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the most important part discussed about every single lens you ever buy. Is it sharp enough? On a technical standpoint, this lens is truly not sharp. It just isn't wide open. At f3.5, which it starts at, all the way to 4.5, it can't produce much detail. I would say it produces around 8 to 10 megapixels of detail at most, which is reasonable because it was designed for film. It wasn't designed for digital. Even on film, when shot wide open, it gives you this very mushy, kind of painter-like experience. When you want something sharp but you don't want to close the lens down because there's not enough light, that will bite you in the behind. But when you actually want something dreamy, when you get that perfect light, it just becomes so good. If you look at Netflix nowadays, that's more about lighting, but everything feels so sterile and fake. Even 10-20 years ago, movies felt so real, and that's because the lenses were imperfect. The lenses always needed something to give, and it was always lacking, and that's what made it so perfect. Nowadays, everything is perfect. The phone is perfect, the artificial intelligence is perfect, the lenses are perfect. It is just so terribly boring. What's so special about this lens, and a lot of zoom lenses, is as soon as you close them half a stop to one stop down, they suddenly become this gorgeous rendering of sharp and character. So the sharpness on this lens isn't great, but it's not lacking either. It's something that you especially forget when you shoot at f8, which is the point of street photography. As we said, context. And when you're trying to get context, you're of course going to be stopping down. So when you stop down, you get this chef's kiss of the perfect amount of sharpness, while at the same time character and lens flares and chromatic aberration, because the chromatic aberration isn't even visible on my type of film. It's not visible on black and white, which I do tend to really use in street photography. If you use color film, I think it would give you good character. I can't say completely sure, but I think it's nice. Like, it's not bad. So what would we say is the actual conclusion of this test? Well, I know one thing, this lens was, not only was it free compared to what I actually paid for the whole package, I think I even got paid to take this lens out of the store because I got it with a Nikon FE2 and I paid $85 for the camera and this lens, and the camera alone is $300. So I basically got paid $200 something to get this lens out of the store. And despite that fact, this lens has taken everything I know about what truly makes a lens great and just flipped it on its head, made it upside down, and made me question everything I know about how to make a great image. The fact that I shot like 95% of this video on this lens and only the last part is shot on my actual professional work lens just shows you how much I don't care about bokeh and sharpness and versatility and a lot of those factors I used to care about anymore. Not because I'm less inspired, but just because if you can make amazing images with this, you can make great images with anything, really. Conclusion is, take a zoom lens, take a kit lens, anything really that is not good, and go out and create. Go out and prove everyone that you have a special vision and that you can create magic with a lens this cheap.